Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I provide an update on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit, specifically including Johnny Depp's testimony? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. I covered the background of the legal dispute between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in my first video about the trial. Here I will just offer a very brief summary. The actress Amber Heard wrote an op-ed which was published in the Washington Post in December of 2018, implying that the actor Johnny Depp had mistreated her, although she never used his name. Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard for defamation. Amber Heard countersued Johnny Depp for abusing her. This brings us to the trial, which started in April of 2022. In this update, I'll be focusing on the testimony of Johnny Depp that he offered on April 19 and some that he gave on April 20. I'm going to stop just before Johnny Depp married Amber Heard and they had their ill-fated trip to Australia. So we're looking at Johnny Depp's background, his career, his history of substance use, and the early part of his relationship with Amber Heard. I will cover the remaining testimony in future videos. First, I will go through a summary of Johnny Depp's testimony, and then I will offer my analysis. The questions that Johnny Depp was asked on the stand by his own attorney, and the answers he provided were kind of all over the place. It created a fragmented narrative at certain points. In summarizing his testimony, I rearranged the order of a few items, and I paraphrased. Johnny Depp started by saying he was only interested in the truth. He was obsessed by the truth. He was not happy about the intimate details being revealed in this trial. He never wanted things to be this way. He was making it seem like this was Amber's fault. Johnny responded to questions about his childhood. He was born in Kentucky and moved frequently. His mother, Betty Sue, was cruel and unpredictable. She beat him with various objects like a telephone and a high-heeled shoe. Johnny and his siblings never had safety. In addition to the physical mistreatment, which was constant, there was verbal mistreatment, including bullying. His mother would call family members names, sometimes based on perceived defects, like having to wear eyeglasses or having teeth that were not perfect. Johnny is legally blind in his left eye. His mother would make fun of him for this. Johnny believed that the emotional mistreatment was worse than the physical. He developed an attitude where he just needed to take the pain, to accept it. Johnny seemed to be more fond of his father. He considered him to be more refined and sophisticated than his mother. Johnny's father was a quiet man who was kind and not confrontational. His father only physically struck Johnny when ordered to do so by Betty Sue. One time, after striking Johnny for something Johnny didn't do wrong, his father apologized to him, something that his mother never did. Johnny's father was also mistreated by his mother, and he chose to exercise restraint. Johnny wondered why his father didn't leave Betty Sue. When Johnny was 15, he no longer had to wonder. His father left, telling Johnny that he was now the man of the house. His mother was depressed by this and attempted to bring an end to her own life. Johnny became angry at his father because he left, believing him to be cowardly, although later he would appreciate that his father was a good person. Johnny learned how to raise his children from his mother. He knew that he needed to do exactly the opposite of what she did. During various parts of his testimony, Johnny made several references to how he was a good father, meaning Johnny Depp, not Johnny Depp's father. For example, Johnny would teach his children about options as opposed to abruptly saying no. He tried to protect them from feeling as though he was a novelty. He spent a lot of time with them, and his central ambition in life was to be a good father. At this point, the topic switched to his career. Johnny said that he moved to Los Angeles at age 20 to be a musician. He met Nicolas Cage, who introduced him to his agent. Johnny landed a role in the movie Nightmare on Elm Street. He was paid $1,284 a week, which was more than he had ever made. Johnny went on to have other successes. He was in 21 Jump Street. He did not have any ambition to be an actor. He was introverted and did not like attention. He is still getting used to that even now. Johnny didn't consider himself to be an actor until he was featured in the movie Platoon. His big break, of course, was Pirates of the Caribbean. He made 5 of these movies. He spent some time testifying about how he made the central character of the movie, Jack Sparrow, his own. He was inspired by cartoons, like Pepe Le Pew, and people like Keith Richards. He would wobble around because he believed that Jack Sparrow had spent so much time at sea that he was not stable on land. I think his attorney was just trying to establish that Pirates of the Caribbean was something that Johnny valued and that he could be proud of. In essence, it was his legacy, his greatest achievement in his career. After this franchise started, Johnny had to add more security because he became massively famous. Several times during his testimony, Johnny emphasized he wasn't complaining about being rich and famous, but there were some drawbacks. Johnny talked about how his vulgar and offensive text messages were really just him expressing himself in the vernacular. We see these reports where he sent explicit text messages in reference to Amber Heard. Johnny emphasized how artistic he was. He made this point quite a few times during his testimony. When he was in pain, he would go to a dark place. He appreciated dark humor, which would be incorporated into his text messages. He was exaggerating and trying to express himself in those messages. Johnny was ashamed about sending them. I think this part of his testimony was really damage control. The next topic was his substance use, which is also an area where he needed to do some damage control. Johnny said that he first used his mother's nerve pills when he was 11 years old. He started using marijuana at the same time. His drug use was simply to escape the pain and trauma. He never used the word party in his life. Substances were to numb him, not so he could have fun. He was not proud that he used substances, but he did not know what else to do. By the age of 15, he was using just about every drug he could obtain. Eventually, he became dependent on roxicodone, which is a narcotic used to treat pain. He was on this drug for about 4 or 5 years before detoxing. He never went back to using it. At this point, Johnny's testimony shifted from his substance use to his relationship with Amber Heard. Johnny met Amber when he was filming the movie Rum Diary. There was the scene where she opened the shower door and they kissed. Johnny said that he had a feeling that he should not have had based on the relationship status of both of them, like they both had partners. Later, they had wine in his trailer and kissed again, this time without the cameras rolling. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard would become romantic partners after Johnny separated from his partner, Vanessa. In the beginning of their relationship, everything was good with Amber Heard. It was perfect. Johnny thought that she was too good to be true. She was attentive, loving, understanding, funny, nice, wonderful, and a stunning creature. Amber appreciated music and literature, another reference to the arts. Over time, Amber revealed her true nature. At first, it was subtle, or I guess one could say insidious. One example Johnny offered was a story about boots. The couple fell into the habit of Johnny coming home from work and having Amber take off his boots and give him a glass of wine. One time when she was busy, Johnny removed his own boots. Amber was upset. Another example was when Amber wanted Johnny to go to bed at the same time as her, but he wanted to stay up and watch TV. At the end of day 1 of Johnny Depp's testimony, he talked about how he did lines of cocaine with Amber's sister and how several of Amber's friends lived in properties owned by him for free. I think this was just to establish how generous Johnny Depp was to Amber Heard. On day 2, Johnny continued his testimony about Amber Heard. He talked about how she revealed herself by becoming combative and angry. Johnny had been working for over 30 years, but he was somehow suddenly wrong about everything in his life. Amber used information that he shared with her in confidence against him. She was good at finding his weak points. She resorted to name-calling. She accused him of being a bad father, which was a particularly deep insult. According to Johnny, Amber was physically violent. Sometimes she would throw objects at him, shove him, or slap him. This is long before slapping was prominently featured on the Academy Awards. Amber was doing it before it was in style. Their discussions would escalate to an argument that followed a path Johnny described as a loop. There was no way to advance the discussion, no way to solve the problem. Rather, they would start arguing, and continue in a way where they ended up back where they started. Johnny would walk away and try to keep himself separated from Amber during these arguments. For example, he might lock himself in a bathroom. He spoke about one specific incident where he did this on a plane. Johnny never struck Amber. He never struck a woman in his entire life. Amber's behavior caused him so much stress that he started using substances again. In July of 2014, Johnny detoxed off of narcotics. Amber insisted on being with him for the process, which was initially on a private island. She refused to give him medication when he needed it, saying it wasn't the right time. So they returned to Los Angeles, where Johnny detoxed without her present. She accused him of abandoning her by doing this. Johnny Depp's testimony, of course, continued after this. As I mentioned, I will include his other testimony in future videos. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few items that stood out to me about Johnny Depp's testimony. Item number 1 is Johnny's speaking style. I noticed that some people referred to it as strange, bizarre, and detached. They felt like he was not going to be appreciated or liked by the jury. I don't agree with this assessment. Johnny did have a choppy delivery. He paused often during his testimony, sometimes in the middle of a sentence. But I don't think that his style of speech was unexpected or odd. Johnny is probably not used to speaking with precision, so he needs to keep thinking about what he's going to say. He wants to be careful. He knows the dangers of saying the wrong thing. I think even with all the pauses and repeating of words and phrases, Johnny came across as genuine, sincere, and surprisingly sophisticated. He went out of his way to use artistic terms. He wanted to make sure that people knew he was high in openness to experience. That is, he was creative, could think abstractly, appreciated the arts, and was intellectually curious. I don't know if he was telling the truth or not, but it looked like he was trying to. He made a convincing effort to accurately answer questions and was candid about his own shortcomings. Item number 2, Johnny's background set the stage for his present behavior. His relationship with his mother and father explains why he would tolerate mistreatment from Amber, even when he knew, logically, that he should leave her. His background also allows the jury to start thinking of him as a victim, and it gave them a reason to excuse his drug use. So really, the background takes care of 2 problems that Johnny had coming into this trial. It explains why he didn't leave Amber, and it explains why he used substances. Which brings me to item number 3. I thought that Johnny explained his substance use in a way that helped his case. He was able to humanize himself. He was simply a victim of terrible circumstances. However, I don't think it's all good news for Johnny Depp. There are 2 problems that could come up based on his testimony. 1, Amber Heard was exposed to someone who was using substances quite a bit, which makes it easier for her to say that she was mistreated. Many people would believe that if a person is intoxicated on substances, they could mistreat their partner. It's more believable than if the person was not using substances. Number 2, Johnny specifically said that he was not a maniac who needed to be high all the time. I find it interesting that he would refer to someone who uses substances as a maniac, especially considering his testimony about himself. Like there are good motives to use drugs and bad motives. Almost like he was saying, I'm not a bad guy. I use drugs to suppress pain. But other drug users, they are the bad guys because they use selfishly just for pleasure. There are no good or bad motives to use drugs. People use drugs for reasons that are understandable, but to assign some type of moral value to them doesn't really make any sense. This was a fairly significant mistake by Johnny. I'm surprised he fell into this trap of separating himself from other substance users. It's worth noting that in one sense, this mistake is evidence that Johnny truly was a substance user, because substance users frequently separate themselves from other users. This is a key component of the substance use mentality. It usually is centered around substance selection and not motive. For example, people who use alcohol will look at people who use heroin and say, oh, they're the real drug users. At least I'm not a heroin user. Item number 4 is Johnny Depp's description of his arguments with Amber Heard. I felt that his account did help his case. He described arguments in a way that a lot of people can relate to. Here we see this big movie star, who people might believe is invincible, but just like everyone else, he has difficulty in relationships. Johnny made himself relatable. Essentially, Johnny painted Amber as immature, even saying that she was using teenage high school tactics. One could argue that she embraced the cancel culture mentality, an ultra-immature attitude that tries to pick apart other people based on perceived and made-up defects. Johnny made it clear that he was in love with Amber. She had a number of great characteristics. He complimented her heavily. His stunning creature reference was particularly poignant and appeared to be authentic. It was clear that Johnny was really thinking about things he was saying, and he was experiencing feelings as he was thinking about what he was going to say. Johnny focused on his lack of retaliation and not as much on how Amber was a bad person or something like that, although he did mention that she drank 2 bottles of wine at night and occasionally used MDMA and mushrooms. The only problem I see Johnny running into with his explanation about Amber Heard's behavior is that it was Johnny's choice to marry somebody in her 20s. If he knew he couldn't tolerate immaturity, why was he okay with her age and a 22-year age difference? Furthermore, he knew that Amber was trouble prior to marrying her. I could see how the jury might call his judgment into question, like maybe these two deserved each other because they were both making poor decisions. Now moving to my final thoughts. At the time of making this video, the trial is far from over, but I think that Johnny Depp scored a lot of points so far in his testimony. I think the jury will forgive his unusual mannerisms because he is an artistic person and had a long history of drug use. In a case that may come down to the jury thinking that both people are villains, I think that's the danger here for each of them, Johnny Depp managed to express himself as a refined yet troubled individual who was exploited by a possessive and violent young woman, a woman who activated his traumatic memories and turned his own weaknesses against him. Those are my thoughts on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial at this point. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.